tales, tunes, and tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy
And
came
here he is,
home
ladies and gentlemen.
every day
Jerry
from
Springer.
there.
For those who are viewing this on
The Facebooks.
Facebook Live, I need to apologize for my haircut.
He got a short haircut.
I got a short haircut. You didn't even notice?
Wow, Gene, you call yourself a friend. First thing I said to him. First thing I
This
said
is
to
the
him.
shortest it has been since the Army.
Was that, Jerry,
And my voice went higher, too.
was that a mistake? I mean, was that a haircut that...
I paid for
this.
it.
Did somebody
I
cut
said
it?
I needed shorter, and then I'm reading the paper, and then I look up when it was done. This was a new person.
Oh. It's
Well,
tough
let
to
me
find the right hair
may
people.
I ask something about that because it is interesting.
Is it?
The
Your
topic-
hair is that
It's not
interesting?
it. Yeah.
Interesting. The topic I get as the executive producer the most emails about are Ask the Lifeguard. And I have
Yes.
said that. And
Yeah.
we've had him on
Yeah.
2 or 3
Thousands
times.
upon thousands.
Yes.
It is. Well, in the course of a week, not in a
Right.
day, but in the course of a week, thousands. The second most popular email topic is who cuts your hair, your haircut. And people wonder, do you have a
Do you
stylist?
just make this up as you go along?
No.
Like,
I hope you have, because if you prepared this, it's horrible. Yeah. I
we
hope
get
it was
the
just-
run front down from Gene. It just
Yeah.
says, keep it fresh. There's no
So
information.
Here's what America wonders. Do you have a set stylist? And there's a corollary to that. Is that stylist at the show? In other words, when you
Yes.
go to the show each week, which you do on Mondays,
Yes.
do you sit down with a stylist who then trims your hair? Question.
No, but they comb it or whatever.
So you go and get your hair cut.
Yeah,
like
cut
a,
I do
like
on
a
my
normal.
own.
Wow.
Oh,
But
you
when I
serious?
go in there,
Wow.
but I will say, because the guests are in there and then I come in there, we use a different brush for me.
Oh my God. Megan,
seen
do you
my
know the
show?
term? Megan, do you know the term?
I'm just saying, because I don't
Jerry.
know. Well,
Do you know the
so
term,
it-
Megan? Cooties.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I
He
do.
wonders if there are cooties in
I
the
think
brush.
of all the people in the world that
There-
need not be concerned with cooties, it's Mr. Springer.
All right.
There
I think-
are times when they do say to me, but I'm not saying anyone in particular, but there are times before a show where they'll say, don't hug these guests.
Oh my gosh.
No, because-
like bed bugs
Well,
or something.
well,
yeah.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
if they have
You
it,
don't.
you don't want to
Yeah.
spread it around.
Oh
my
my
gosh.
God, this is
Oh,
great.
fine.
We have that on tape, don't
Yep,
we?
got it. Thank you.
And frankly, I'm a hugger.
I know you're.
Frankly, I'm a hugger.
And so I defy it, and I say, I don't care.
I'm going to hug you anyway,
I
cooties
can't
and
get
all.
How did we get into this?
No, we'll get
Oh,
off of this in 1 second.
Yeah, let's.
But we'll get off in 1
Can
second.
we start the show over?
Seriously. Seriously.
You all on your own, without your people, you go to a stylist or a barber, whatever, and get your hair cut. A regular person.
Yeah, my people drive me
I was
over.
going to say, he doesn't drive
How,
there.
how often do you do that? Do you do that every 2 weeks, every month?
Every 3 weeks. I'd
Every
say.
3 weeks, okay.
Wow.
And a new person cut it, and they really whacked it, because we can see now that you bring attention to it, they whacked it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's and that's all I have at this age is my long hair.
Yeah.
You get all these young, handsome guys, but at least I could say I got
You got
a full
hair.
head of
You
hair.
got your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I do now is I'm letting my eyebrows grow long and just comb them straight back. That covers a lot.
Boom, boom. Hey, speaking of Facebook Live,
Yes.
a lot of people watch us on Facebook Live. We
Not
know
anymore.
We can,
I
A lot of people watched, past tense.
we know the numbers, and we want to like to kind of communicate with those people right
Yeah,
there.
how you
Hey,
doing?
send a shout out to us. Just say
And we'll-
somebody from wherever, and then we'll have a little chat with you here.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Pruce is he's over there writing down a name or two, so we
Yeah.
know.
But they all want to talk to Megan. No one wants to talk to us.
Well,
And what is this?
So okay.
Danny White
Oh my
from
God,
Mexico.
Danny.
Hi,
That's
Danny.
Danny White from Mexico. Hold on, let's talk about Danny. Danny, how you doing? This is Danny White, former chair of the Ohio Democratic Party.
Oh my God, Danny! Hi.
Hey, Danny.
God bless
How you
him.
doing? Hey, Denny, look, I got my Harley jacket on tonight. Hey, check that out.
Denny's really
So-
that really
Yeah,
is
it really is.
Well, yeah, and
Hey,
this
that-
is not a setup.
No, it's
Denny
legit.
White. Yeah, happens to be a Facebook friend.
He
of
was
the
chairman of the
show.
Ohio Democratic Party back in the first decade of this century.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the one that was responsible for me being Democrat of the Year.
That's right.
Huh.
God
Absolutely.
bless him, and that's why he's no longer chairman of the
No.
party. And he had to go to
And he's
Mexico.
in Mexico.
How
It
did
makes
you
him-
get? How did you get over the wall? I didn't know he could climb.
It's great to hear from Denny White because he lives
Great hearing
in.
from
I know
Denny.
from Facebook contact that
Yeah.
he lives in. I believe it's Mazatlan in Mexico.
Oh, beautiful.
Fantastic place on the beach. And one time, Denny White and I and another guy rode motorcycles because he's a Harley rider.
Yeah.
I've sold mine, but I've had a number of them, and we went to the Outer Banks.
Oh, yeah.
And it was. Yeah, he's just a great guy, and he's living down there. And
Well, thanks
So-
for watching us, Denny.
all right, so here's one other thing. Casey Campbell's wedding.
Woohoo! And that was a party.
Casey Campbell is our music coordinator and our close
He's great.
friend. Went to Cuba with us. He's our folk singer. We took to Cuba as we met with 4 or 5 Cuban folk singers. And
He's
Casey
the
and
one
Jessica
talent.
Tate got married.
He's
yeah,
the
he's
one talent
talented.
on our show.
He is. He is talented.
I mean, he's the only one with any
Authentic talent.
I mean, we're nice.
We're nice people.
Pleasant people.
And you're rich, and you're rich.
Yeah.
I'm not even that. You know. You know?
What do
So
you bring
you-
to the table,
I
Gene?
bring nothing.
Exactly.
We were all
Another.
invited to the wedding, and you guys got to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your schedule,
Yeah.
you couldn't. And
I couldn't, but
we had a blast.
It was a great
Did you?
wedding.
And I just gave him the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
How
think-
much did your present cost?
Well-
What did you give him?
Well, I gave dough money.
You
but
gave money?
You gave
What
him.
is this, a bar mitzvah?
You gave him a basket of fruit. I saw it, a basket of fruit.
Dear
No,
God.
it was great. It was a great
It was
wedding.
really, it was beautiful. It was outside at a farm at Justice Park. It was really beautiful.
Yeah,
Very,
it was
very cool.
great. And a lot of good music. and,
Yeah, Crystal
what
Peterson,
would you,
who's been
what
on
would
the
you
show.
expect? You know, they're all a bunch of.
He's been married for
Roots,
2 weeks now.
I know.
Artists.
Well, yeah, this
And
is.
you can see the lines in his face.
He's gray. He came back. He came back from his honeymoon. He's got gray.
I said,
Very
how
cool.
you doing? He says, I got a check.
Yeah.
No, he married a great
No,
woman.
Jessica is
Fantastic.
amazing.
Wonderful.
Amazing. He married way over his head.
What do we say over
as
kicking
I
his
have.
coverage?
I don't know if you guys know, but at the time we're recording this, except for the people watching live on Facebook, yesterday was Halloween.
Sure was.
And we all have loved ones. I have some kids and some grandkids, and so my grandkids are the kids of my son.
Yeah.
I have another daughter in Florida, but this was my son Mitch, so we did the whole trick-or-treating thing with them. You did it with your
With my
niece.
nieces and with Frank's daughter and her
Okay.
friends. so
And
yeah.
Frank is your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and we have taken
Yeah,
off
still.
Megan off the website. Would you like to date Megan? That was
Woohoo.
disrespectful. I
That was
felt.
very
That is
disrespectful.
gone.
It turns out.
In a meeting, I had that pulled down.
Although a couple of calls are coming
Still
in
coming
still.
It was serving our needs as a podcast. I
Well,
will
really,
admit.
Gene, that's what I'm here for, is to make
That's
sure
what
the
I thought.
podcast is
That's what I thought. Then I thought that's not right, and I pulled
you
it
and the
down.
morals. Pretty high
Well,
standing there.
Jesuit trained.
There you go.
Jerry, you have a grandson,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And
Kid.
Right. And we went trick or treating with him. He went as a nerd.
Is it
Okay.
nerd?
Yeah. And that's
Because
you know.
he's really not a nerd. He's very athletic, plays all these sports.
But
Very cool kid.
But the only thing that got me is, because I said, Richard, what are you going as? He says, I'm going as a nerd. And then he paused and he says, do you have any clothing I can
I was
borrow?
going to say, what did he borrow from you? Grandpa, can I borrow your glasses?
What?
Yeah.
He says, come on, Opa. You're
Yeah,
talking-
come on.
He says,
He
"You're
was talking to me. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Give me
Did
some
you
of your
go
clothing."
as Jerry Springer, or would you go as?
There's this old Jerry Springer mask that they made years ago. And I put it on, and I would go knocking on
You
doors.
went as yourself for
Well, then,
Halloween.
because you'd hear people
Bad
comment.
mouthing, probably.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
bad
every once in a while they say, "Oh, Jerry Springer, dude." Or, you know.
Good.
And I
God
said,
bless
"What do
him.
you think of him?" He said, "Oh, I'm not going to let my kids watch." And then I lifted off my mask. Hi.
That's pretty
Oh,
good.
That is pretty good.
I made their day.
Oh, I'm sure. That
But
guy.
we didn't get a lot of candy there.
Turns out.
Hey, we got James Weston coming
Yeah,
on in a
we
few
do.
minutes. We love James Weston.
fresh off his tour from England.
He is from other places in America, but he's living now in Ludlow. It's part of this new enclave of creative class people who moved to Ludlow, Kentucky. It's very cool. He spends more than the summer, about 4 months, I think, in England, and he's going to perform for us, do a couple original songs. He's got albums, and we want to hear about his travels. I did want to ask, and Jerry's going to talk about, it's a great question, how could people still be with Donald Trump after what goes on every day? So we'll get to that in a second. I want to ask you guys something. My wife, Bonnie, takes care of grandkids 1 day a week and spends the night, gets up, puts them on the school bus. So I was home, slept, got up, day passes, about 2 o'clock, and Megan and Jerry, I look and I realize I hadn't made the bed. And I thought, what the hell, why the hell do I need to make the bed? I mean, we're going to be in it in a few hours, but of course I did make it because I'm disciplined and I have high values. But I thought, then I thought of Megan and Jerry.
Yes.
In your respective homes, I wondered, and I'm just going to pull the curtain back. Do you make your bed every day, Jerry? Do you personally, Jerry, get up and make your bed every day?
There is a rope that I hit and the bell sounds, and the maids come running
And
in.
they come in and
They make the bed,
I
bring
hate
my
you.
shoes. The valet.
The valet,
Yeah.
the butler,
Yeah,
for the love.
Oscar the valet.
The valet.
Really a prick, isn't he?
Really, truly. Yeah.
No, I actually do make
Do you-
my bed.
you do?
Yes.
That's cool.
Mickey would beat the tar out of me.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And
Yeah,
you,
most days. I mean, like, not every single day, but most days, yeah. It's just kind of like habit. Get up, make the bed, go make
Yeah.
coffee. Yep.
yeah, I was kind of wondering why, as humans, we do that.
You
but
sleep
we do
better
that.
in a bed that's made. Don't you know that?
I
It's
don't
true.
quite
My
get
mom used
that.
to tell me that when I was a kid.
Well, she would tell you that
You sleep better when your bed's made.
to try to
Okay.
get you to make it.
Whatever, it works.
Yeah.
37, still doing it. So.
Yeah, yeah. Jerry,
Gene?
there's so much that goes on with the Trump administration. It's hard even to keep track of it. It just is every day you shake your head. And how can people, shrinking number that it may be, still be with him?
Well, it's changing, not so much in the numbers. The numbers have always been horrible, in terms of approval rating, at least for the last 5 months, let's say. He's always been just below 40 and something like that. But the reasons are different, and frankly, I'll start off like this. Politics is a negative business. And maybe it has always been negative. People tend to vote against somebody. And the rationale for your votes, and it's those of us who are more liberal and Democrat, it's the same with us. If I look at at least in my lifetime, all the elections, most often, you are voting because you want to stop someone else or stop a policy that's going on. By definition, it seems, campaigns are always negative. And if you ask someone, for example, how did you vote for Trump? Let's be honest, 90% of the time, somewhere in that conversation, someone will say to you, if they voted for Trump, I just couldn't take Hillary. In other words, that's their acceptance into polite society. They don't want to say, well, I just love what Trump stands for. I just love Trump, the person, et cetera. They don't say that. They'll say, well, I just couldn't take Hillary. And then those of us who were for Hillary, some of us loved her, but the truth is a lot of people, the campaign was built mainly on, we can't have this guy with his finger on the button. I mean, the whole idea of competence and his behavior and stuff. So it was, we vote against somebody. And in my lifetime, with a possible exception of Obama, and maybe a little bit Jack Kennedy, virtually every presidential election has been based on not liking the other person. And if you think about all those on either side, Democrat or Republican, so why does it get to that? Well, the reason it gets to that is that no candidate can meet all the people. I mean, obviously in a country this big, and even if you're running just statewide or even in a congressional district, maybe you'll actually shake hands with 1% of the actual people who will vote. So you can't really meet them. And even if you just met them, you don't really know them. The people who went to your high school, if you're running in a local community, they know you. No one else really knows you. In order to get people to vote, that is an affirmative act. You have to inspire people to get up on a given day, or if it's absentee even, to actually physically do something that they wouldn't normally do in a given day. So it requires inspiring you to do something affirmative. Most commercials, for example, are passive. You get a commercial about a car. You get a commercial about soap. They don't expect you that day to go out and buy the car. They're just letting you know that the next time you're going down aisle 7 in the grocery store and you see that soap, that'll ring a bell. You remember that commercial or whatever, and so you buy that soap. Well, with politics, they can't spend money on commercials just so you think about it. They've got to get you so excited that you will get up, and actually show up and vote. So, knowing that, that means all campaigning has to have some emotional trigger to get you to do it. It can't just be reasoned intellectual thought. It's got to be, all right, this morning, I don't care what else is going on. Honey, on the way to work, I'm stopping off at the polls. So it means it has to be an emotional trigger. There are only 3 emotions that inspire people: love, hate, and fear. Well, it is impossible to love someone you don't know. So you can't love someone just because you see a lot of commercials. You may like what they say. Oh, that's great. I kind of, I might support that person. But it isn't, wow, I'm just in love. But hate and fear, in fact, it's better if you don't know the people. If you think about, for example, prejudice, our prejudices are based basically because we don't know the people. We aren't among them. How many times have you said, well, I know this guy's okay, that kind of thing. So it's much easier to inspire people to act by having commercials and a campaign that inspires hate and fear of the other person. That is why virtually every political commercial you ever see on both sides is how the other guy's a bum. In the very beginning of the campaign, there'll be a nice, soft, lazy picture with the candidate and his family running through the grass and all that. But then comes 6 weeks before the election, 5, 4, 3 weeks, it's all negative, because that is what inspires you to act. So therefore, when you ask people today, just like in every other election, I said Obama might have been one of the exceptions, because I sensed in that campaign people were coming out because they really, really wanted to vote for Obama. I thought it was a little bit like that back in 1960 in the Kennedy campaign, but not to be partisan, people will say, well, what about Reagan? Clearly an iconic figure for Republicans. But the truth of the matter is that when he won in 1980, it wasn't that people loved Reagan. It was an anti-Carter vote, because Iran still had the hostages, we had the long lines at the gas pumps, etc., and Carter was viewed as weak and ineffective, the malaise and all that. So people voted for Reagan as a way because they didn't like Carter. It was a referendum on him. But except for possibly Obama, even you could say that was a vote against the war in Iraq. Every election is how the other guy's a bum. So people that voted for Trump, and those of us on the other side, we're amazed. How could you have voted for Trump? It's because they worked up in their mind over 40 years of negative ads about Hillary, making her the devil, which is, for those who know her, is just absolutely absurd. But anyway, it was so negative on Hillary that frankly is the reason you hear when you talk, even when you talk to Democrats, oh, she lost because people didn't like Hillary. And all of a sudden she wasn't a good candidate and all that. So that has been the reason. However, we now ask, most of us, how can people, now that the election's over, who defends Trump now? Every day, all these horrible headlines and, it doesn't do us any good to talk about today's latest headline about indictments, because by the time most people listen to this podcast, it'll be new news. It'll be, new information. So without even going on that, just recognizing that every day there's another negative about Trump, why do people still stay with him? Here is my thought, and it fits into this whole Bannon thing. I think virtually everyone, unless you're a psychopathic, criminal, everyone likes to think of themselves as basically a good person. Even people that do wrong things, you say, okay, that was a mistake, I shouldn't have done that. But generally, that's how we get along in life. You got to have some self-worth and figure out, I'm really a good person. So with that, someone who's, let's say, a right-winger or from the Christian right or very conservative, you would think they would have really trouble justifying supporting Donald Trump based on their conservative values. How he lives his life, his language, his bragging, his treatment of women, all this stuff. You say, oh my gosh, there's nothing godly about that. How could you justify that? And here's where the fake news comes in. This is the whole concept, which you can see, whether it's Trump, Bannon, or Fox News. They came up with this term, fake news, because you see, if you can say, well, the news you're hearing isn't true, then all of a sudden you don't have to feel like you're a hypocrite. You can say, well, yeah, I support Trump because, oh, you don't believe that stuff. That's the news. They all do that. That's not really how it happened. They're so biased. It's the liberal media. And that is the rationale for winding up supporting someone that by conscience, a good Christian, couldn't support. I'm not talking liberal conservative. I'm just saying take Christian values, take moral values of any religion, frankly. No one can with a straight face say to their kids, I want you to grow up to be like Donald Trump. I want you to behave to women like Donald Trump does, all this stuff. And we all know that. Regardless of whatever speeches people give, deep down inside, when it's just you and God in the room, you know that's not the appropriate way to behave. So how does someone accept it? By simply saying, well, yeah, that was all true, but it's fake news. Now, why should we be concerned as Americans? This whole thing of fake news, which is starting to get out of hand, because it isn't just he said, she said, it is now the entire idea of news, of getting information, is now under attack. That is the greatest attack on America. Democracy is the concept that people have the right to decide who's going to govern them. And we have the right to vote. That is the basis of everything we fight and die for. But if that vote means nothing if you don't have information. If it's just a blind vote, like rolling the dice, you don't know what the truth is. If you smother the truth, if you put out different counter stories so that no one knows what is the truth, then the vote is worthless because you don't know if you're voting on the right information. If there is poisoned water and somebody says, no, it really isn't poisoned, what do you do? Do you build a new plant? Do you, get the right chemicals to fix it? Do you not? In other words, we are destroyed as a democratic society if we no longer have a place to turn to say, this is the truth. What happens now when Mueller comes out with these indictments? The whole strategy of the Trump people right now is to say it's all corrupt, it's fake, don't believe it, so they never have to feel guilty about it. They don't have to come up with an explanation for why they did what they did, why they met with Russians, why they made this deal. Because anything the government comes up with now, anything the prosecutor comes up with, anything that's reported in the newspaper, they don't have to worry about the headlines because, folks, the headlines aren't true. That is a threat to our way of life. It's way beyond are you voting Democrat or Republican. If you can't believe the news anymore, not that it's always right, but at least that it's not out there to try, it's not like Fox News trying to get you to believe something that is totally wrong and provably wrong, then our whole democracy and country is in trouble. That, I believe, is the biggest story of this year beyond any indictment. It's the fact that 50 years from now, people will look back and say, this was the year when all of a sudden the American press lost its credibility in the public's mind. That is the damage of Bannon. So Bannon wins, Trump wins, Fox News wins, and the terrorists and the Russians win, and the terrorists get exactly what they were trying to do. Break us up. It's not just the van that runs over 8 people in New York. It's what they have done to the whole concept of a free press and its value in a democratic society.
Thank you, Jerry.
And how do you like my haircut?
Before you bring on James Weston,
Yeah.
I hate to go back to the haircut again, but I really need to ask something.
This is really the most interesting thing we have going on in our
Yeah.
lives is
When
Jerry's
you
haircut.
looked in the mirror after the haircut,
Yes.
did you say, "What's way shorter than I have ever worn it
Did you
since
complain
the
about
Army?"
it?
Did you complain?
Well, I looked in the mirror and I realized that can't be a mirror. It's probably a picture of someone else.
Yeah. And because they can't put it back on.
I
It
never
cannot-
complain because they may not like me if I complain.
Oh my.
You are the most fragile little person. You're
Yeah,
so-
and I still gave a big tip. That's what's absurd.
I hate it. Here you go. Will you like me now?
How about another 20?
Good God, you're special. All right, let's move on to James Weston here. Hi, James. Welcome back.
That's the hair I used to have.
Jerry, I have extra if you'd like some.
Yeah.
So, James, you've been traveling for a few months, huh? You've been
Yeah,
overseas.
yeah.
Yeah. Now I got to know, did you get to burn a guitar this time around?
No, I only burn pianos.
Just pianos. Did you this time?
Yeah, a few.
Are you serious?
Free pianos on Facebook.
Oh my gosh. All right. So why were you burning them?
Well, because we have nowhere left to go. Like, we started burning pianos originally, and then we have to continue to burn pianos.
Because where do you go from there once you've started?
I think effigies of me.
So you've been on our show before, and this is some new music for you. Our first song is "The Bottle Is the Same," correct?
Yeah.
All right.
I've got a new album I'm going to be doing in Nashville, and it's a heartbreak ballad album.
Yes.
And this is a song that I wrote in Scotland, in
Okay.
Edinburgh last year. Took me about 5 minutes.
Nice.
I had a little help from the single malt. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah, this goes out to someone I know in Nashville.
Someone you know in Nashville.
Beneath the bridge in his old town, I spilled out my blood in a cloud of Scotch whiskey. Come a vision of flood. Hell, red fire and fury, rise wild, understood. But all my thoughts were wandering through the wind in the wood. I'm stuck in pages of memories that scrawled on my face. She's a hole in my Help me relieve all my pain. I hope I forgive my sorrow. Else I will go insane. What I make of the victim? Well, I took all the blame, all the blame. My chest is just hollow, and my bottle is the same. And now my chest is just hollow, and my bottle is the same. She told me what true love means, but I still had to go. Now she's a shadow behind me. In her world, I'll never know. With each drop that I swallow, she's my whisper in rain. I hope she knows I still love her, and that we'll always remain. Cut me loose from my trouble. Help me relieve my pain. I hope I forgive this sorrow before I go insane. What I make her the victim? Well, I took all the blame. Now my chest is just hollow, and my bottle is the same. And now my chest is just hollow, and my bottle is the same.
That was beautiful. It's really remarkable how much you sound just like him, Jerry. It's like listening to you.
Every time I sing, they say, "Oh my gosh, you're just
like him.
Yeah, well, you know, I got your back, Jerry.
If you want to hear more of James' music, you can certainly go to his website, which is jameswestonmusic.com, and you are on Facebook as well.
And Facebook and Spotify and all the Googles.
And
If
all
you
the
Google it,
all the Googles.
all of the Googles, I'm there as well.
Oh, that is
So
spectacular.
your upcoming album, is that A Place Where the Heart Used to Be? That's your upcoming album?
Yeah, that's what's happening. It's been a kind of a crazy year.
Yeah.
It's I've been going over to England and Europe for a while, but a few years in a row, and a good friend of mine told me that I should just make an album of ballads.
Yeah.
And actually, I was like, yeah, perfect. Let's
Done.
do it. So,
Yeah.
there's a GoFundMe campaign as well.
And where can we find that?
James Weston
It's on-
GoFundMe.
On the
James
GoFundMe.
Weston Music GoFundMe.
Very
And,
cool.
Yeah, if you want to, just throw me $5. Just $5.
Just $5.
I can do.
cool.
I can do 450.
Jesus. It's not a negotiation.
I know, I could tell. I saw the dollar that dropped.
Right.
Like, this guy's got to worry about money.
I know,
over
right?
here.
All right, James has got another song for us today, and it
Hey.
is
Oh, it's
Golden-
starting up.
there we
Oh,
go.
it's $6.
Yeah.
Gene.
Screen door coming through here. You
Screen
can't,
door's happening right now.
look, you can't stand it.
Oh. All right, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no.
This is
I'm not going to say no.
Oh, there we go.
5-0. 5-0. That's awesome.
Well, I
I
got
love
that
it.
out, Jerry.
I love it when he does that.
Does anyone want to buy a plane? The gentleman in the back.
There is one guy back there.
dear Lord.
Look at Louis Beck ducking.
He ran out of the building, actually. All right,
Personally autograph your album.
there you go.
You go get him. You got talent.
Yeah, we love having James on. Let's listen to it. Let's hear
So,
"Golden Days" is the
Golden
next
Days
song?
is it? Yeah, this song. It's funny. I was. My birthday was on the 28th. So
Happy
I just
birthday!
I just turned 26.
Huh?
Yeah.
And it was a really nice day because I discovered that I'm actually divorced.
Whoa.
We've been separated for 6 years.
Oh, okay. Like you just woke up. No kidding. I'm divorced.
No, well, my ex-wife at this point, she asked me if I could do a film score for, we met and got married in L.A.
Yeah.
She's an actress. She asked me if I could do a film score, and I was like, yeah, well, I would love to. And she was like, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. I was like, well, that.
Whoa.
You probably should think about getting divorced now. She was like, James, we've been divorced. I'm remarried. And I was like, what did I get?
What?
Yeah.
Wow, James.
You can keep the cat.
No kidding. So I'm remarried with a kid.
But anyways,
I
this
like
is
that.
a song for Shay. I'm not going to say the last name, but Shay. This is a song for her. It's called Golden Days.
Very cool.
She's been wide awake for days. She can't find the comfort that she's misplaced. She keeps waiting for my face to show. It's like her soul has been erased. When I left her, she didn't chase, and now she stands here with no place to fall. Whatever happened to all those golden days? She will never know for sure why I let my heart fade away. Goodbye to the golden days. She's been aching constantly. She's bathed in misery. She wonders if I ever loved her at all. And every sun now sits alone, and every stone turns her to stone. Sharp the blade I used to cut her out. Whatever happened to all those golden days? She will never know why I let her love fade away. Goodbye she'll escape this living hell, and she'll burn me from her memory. And all the candles that went dark will reignite from another spark, and she'll release me to my destiny. Whatever happened to all those golden days? She will never know for sure why I let her love fade away. Goodbye, golden days. Goodbye, golden days.
Bravo!
Really, really beautiful. Glad your friend suggested the ballads. It's gorgeous, just beautiful.
Was that
Hear more.
was that a 50 I gave you?
That was it. That was it.
Can you
Hey, Jerry, man, if you need some gas money, just hit me up.
just? No, James, that was gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Love it, love it. Jerry's tearing up over here.
I thought it was a 20.
Oh, for the love.
Hey, man, do you want me to break it?
No.
Let me go see a guy who knows a guy.
Again, check out James Weston at jameswestonmusic.com, on Facebook, Spotify, all the Googles. And James, if you would take us out on Down by the Riverside.
Yeah, why don't we do this?
Jerry's
Ready?
going to hop in here,
Okay.
too. It's going to be hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Jerry, you gotta sing like me, man. Remember?
All right.
I'm gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside. Gonna study. Oh, no more. Ain't gonna study war 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 no more.
Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside.
All right.
Down by the riverside.
Oh, yeah.
Down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield
By the riverside.
down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Y'all come back now, you hear?
I'll be just fine.
He broke something.
It hurts. It hurts every time.
Thanks, how about one more for James Weston?
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back next week, next Tuesday, with Joybird from Chicago.
All right. Excellent, James.
Another day, another $50.
There you go.
If you need a campaign manager, just